The more that a broken system tells you that you're wrong, the more certain you should be that you must keep pushing ahead. Because it's the outsiders who change the world and who make a real and lasting difference. Nothing worth doing ever came easy. Treat the word impossible as nothing more than motivation. The future belongs to the people who follow their heart no matter what the critics say. We must always remember that we share one home and one glorious destiny. We all bleed the same red blood of patriots. We all salute the same great American flag. Our best days are yet to come.
Before we talk about Iran sanctions, I'm sorry everybody saw that the Dow hit 29,000. The president's economic plans are clearly working. We're looking forward to the China signing, USMCA, and a very strong economy this year.
And we compete with nations that are getting negative rates, something very new, meaning they get paid to borrow money, something that I could get used to very quickly. Love that. Got to pay back your loan? Oh, how much am I getting? By 2019, China would become the largest economy in the world, and right now we're much larger. But we have a great new deal with China, great deal. We have, I would say, our best relationship that we've ever had with China on top of everything else. We have a great relationship with China now. We had some testy moments, very testy, beyond testy, worse than a lot of people would understand.
Let me give you an update on the current situation of the novel coronavirus. First, though, I want to emphasize that this is a serious health situation in China, but I want to emphasize that the risk to the American public currently is low. Our goal is to do all we can do to keep it that way. Once again, I want to emphasize that this is a significant global situation and it continues to evolve. But I also want to emphasize again that the risk at this time to the American public is low.
I underscore what Bob said. We still have a low risk to the American public, but we want to keep it at a low risk.
Foreign nationals, other than immediate family of U.S. citizens and permanent residents who have traveled in China within the last 14 days will be denied entry into the United States for this time. I want to stress, the risk of infection for Americans remains low. And with these and our previous actions, we are working to keep the risk low. All agencies are working aggressively to monitor this continually evolving situation and to keep the public informed in a constantly transparent way. The United States appreciates China's efforts and coordination with public health officials across the globe and continues to encourage the highest levels of transparency. It is likely that we will continue to see more cases in the United States in the coming days and weeks, including some limited person-to-person transmission. The American public can be assured the full weight of the U.S. government is working to safeguard the health and safety of the American people.
Let me also say and echo what Secretary Azar said, which is we are deeply appreciative of the close cooperation we have with the Chinese government as we work together to try to find appropriate ways to address any risks and challenges from this virus.
What is your message to Americans who are watching this on the news, who are seeing this, who are feeling really alarmed by the steps that this administration is taking and by the spread of coronavirus in general? They hear you say the risk is low, but then they see this action being taken, and I think some people might be freaked out by that.
I hope not. I hope that people will see that their government is taking responsible steps to protect them. These are preventive steps. The risk is low in the United States. The risk is low of transmissibility. The risk of contracting the disease is low. But our job is to keep that risk low as much as we can by taking appropriate preventative steps. The risk to Americans is low. You have a team here, you have an experienced, first class, the world's best public health care system, infrastructure, and professionals looking out for you.
The incredible effort to build a hospital in just 10 days. Can you imagine that? The 600,000 square foot facility started treating patients today in Wuhan, China, the epicenter of the coronavirus outbreak. A crew of 7,000 people built the hospital, which has 1,000 beds. A second hospital with 500 more beds is due to open later this week.
The state of our union is stronger than ever before. For decades, China has taken advantage of the United States. Now we have changed that. But at the same time, we have perhaps the best relationship we've ever had with China, including with President Xi. They respect what we've done because, quite frankly, they could never really believe that they were able to get away with what they were doing year after year, decade after decade, without someone in our country stepping up and saying, that's enough. The American adventure has only just begun. Our spirit is still young. The sun is still rising. God's grace is still shining. And my fellow Americans, the best is yet to come. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you very much.
We do want to say to people, come to Chinatown. Here we are. We're, again, careful, safe, and come join us.
I just want to say, though, as far as the U.S. is concerned, when you look at this, I mean, you had a little higher head count on the infections because of the cruise ship people coming off. We have contained this. We have contained this. I won't say airtight, but pretty close to airtight. We've done a good job in the United States. And I was just interested in the World Health Organization head who said, let's not overreact to that. I would make the same point on the economic side. The human tragedy side, difficult, horrible. The economic side, there is no tragedy in the United States. China's going to take an awfully big hit. Now, I was interested, too, I'm sure you know this, the IMF came out today, Kristalina came out today and said, yeah, they're going to get slammed in the first quarter, but it could be a V-shaped recession.
Because of all we've done, the risk to the American people remains very low. And we have the greatest experts in the world, really in the world, right here. We've had tremendous success beyond what people would have thought. Now, at the same time, you do have some outbreaks in some countries. Italy and various countries are having some difficulty. China, you know about where it started. I spoke with President Xi. We had a great talk. He's working very hard, I have to say. He's working very, very hard. I want you to understand something that shocked me when I saw it, that I spoke with Dr. Fauci on this, and I was really amazed, and I think most people are amazed to hear it. The flu in our country kills from 25,000 people to 69,000 people a year. That was shocking to me. And so far, if you look at what we have with the 15 people, and they're recovering, one is pretty sick, but hopefully will recover. But the others are in great shape. But think of that, 25,000 to 69,000. Over the last 10 years, we've lost 360,000. These are people that have died from the flu, from what we call the flu. Hey, did you get your flu shot? And that's something. But we're very, very ready for this, for anything, whether it's going to be a breakout of larger proportions or whether or not we're at that very low level. And we want to keep it that way. So we're at the low level. As they get better, we take them off the list so that we're going to be pretty soon at only 5 people. And we could be at just 1 or 2 people over the next short period of time.
Because of this hard work and the president's leadership, The immediate risk to the American public has been and continues to be low. Our containment strategy has been working.
The CDC said yesterday that they believe it's inevitable that the virus will spread in the United States, and it's not a question of if, but when. Do you agree with that assessment?
Well, I don't think it's inevitable. It probably will. It possibly will. It could be at a very small level, or it could be at a larger level. Whatever happens, we're totally prepared. We have the best people in the world. You see that from the study. We have the best prepared people, the best people in the world. Congress is willing to give us much more than we're even asking for. That's nice for a change. But we are totally ready, willing, and able. It's a term that we use. It's ready, willing, and able. And we have. It's going to be very well under control. Now, it may get bigger. It may get a little bigger. It may not get bigger at all. We'll see what happens. But regardless of what happens, we're totally prepared. Please. This will end. This will end. You look at flu season. I said 26,000 people. I never heard of a number like that. 26,000 people going up to 69,000 people, doctor, you told me before. 69,000 people die every year from 26 to 69, every year from the flu. Now think of that. It's incredible. So far, the results of all of this that everybody's reading about, and part of the thing is you want to keep it the way it is. You don't want to see panic, because there's no reason to be panicked about. But when I mentioned the flu, I said, actually, I asked the various doctors, I said, is this just like flu? Because people die from the flu, and this is very unusual. And it is a little bit different, but in some ways it's easier, and in some ways it's a little bit tougher. But we have it so well under control. I mean, we really have done a very good job. Go ahead.
Mr. President, thank you, Mr. President. I want to get to China. At the beginning of this outbreak, the Chinese Communist Party covered it up. That has been the general consensus of everyone. How can you now legitimately trust President Xi and the Chinese Communist regime, President Xi, and the Chinese Communist regime to be forthcoming and forthright with this pandemic?
Well, I can tell you this. I speak to him. I had a talk with him very recently, and he is working so hard on this problem. He is working so hard, and they're very tough and very smart. Yes? Go ahead.
Are you working with China right now,
Yes.
specifically in what areas? Also,
We're working with China. We just did the biggest trade deal in history. We did two of them between USMCA and the China deal. It's the biggest in history. The relationship with China is a very good one. And I can tell you that, again, President Xi is working really hard. He wants this problem solved as hard as you can work. Thank you all. Thank you all.
Larry, what effect do you think this will have on the president's re-election campaign?
I think the way he's handling this will have a very positive effect on his re-election campaign.
One of my people came up to me and said, Mr. President, they tried to beat you on Russia, Russia, Russia. That didn't work out too well. They couldn't do it. They tried the impeachment hoax. That was on a perfect conversation. They tried anything. They tried it over and over. They've been doing it since you got in. It's all turning. They lost. It's all turning. Think of it. Think of it. And this is their new hoax. But, you know, we did something that's been pretty amazing. We're 15 people in this massive country. And because of the fact that we went early, we could have had a lot more than that. We're doing great. Our country is doing so great. A number that nobody heard of, that I heard of recently, and I was shocked to hear it. 35,000 people on average die each year from the flu. Did anyone know that? 35,000. That's a lot of people. It could go to 100,000. It could be 27,000. They say usually a minimum of 27 goes up to 100,000 people a year die. And so far, we have lost nobody to coronavirus in the United States. Nobody. Ten more years. No. Oh, they go crazy when you say it. When you say to them, 5 more years. So it's 5. But you then say, maybe 9, maybe 13, maybe 17, maybe 21, who knows? Maybe 20. Let's do this. Let's term limit ourselves at 25 years, no more than 25 years. No more, okay? They'll pass something in the Senate. Tim, pass it in the Senate with Lindsey. A 25-year term limit, please. No, we're looking to do a great job. We need that extra 5 to get everything solidified. You know, it's like you take a tree and you plant it. It needs some time to grab on, right? And that's what we need. We've got incredible things that we've done. We have things we still can do, but we have done actually much, much more than we even promised we'd do. They keep talking about the virus. Oh, the virus. Is Trump doing a good job? Oh, I don't think so. Gee, I don't think so. Chucky Schumer. No, I don't think he's doing a good job. This guy doesn't know he's alive. Oh, what bad people.
The president mentioned masks. This morning we talked a great deal about additional medical supplies. Let me be very clear, and I'm sure the physicians who are up here will reflect this as well. The average American does not need to go out and buy a mask.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Let me begin by, on behalf of all of the officials at HHS and our whole teams, expressing our sadness for the loss of this patient in the state of Washington. Any single death for us is a real tragedy, and our sympathy to her family and our solidarity with all those who are and will suffer from the novel coronavirus. From day one, this is what we predicted. This is what we expected. The risk to any average American is low from the novel coronavirus. The risk remains low thanks to the unprecedented actions President Trump has taken and the actions he's announcing today. That risk remains low.
Technical question. Have you determined whether there are any variants of this virus so that a person who may have gotten it and then gotten over it could get it again?
No, there's no indication that that's going on at all. If this virus acts like other viruses, which I have no reason to believe it won't, once you've gotten infected and recovered, you're not going to get infected with the same virus.
Please.
Thank you very much, President. I'm just wondering what's the communication with China look like right now, and does the experience and lessons coming from China will help the U.S. dealing with the current situation?
Well, I think our relationship with China is very good. We just did a big trade deal. We're starting on another trade deal with China, a very big one, and we've been working very closely. They've been talking to our people. We've been talking to their people, having to do with the virus. No, our relationship with China is very good. Maybe it's closer because of what's happened here, because it was, you know, in a certain way, this can bring the world closer. If you want to know, it can really do that. Go ahead. What is your timing? What would you say?
So we're hoping to get the phase 1 start very soon now. We're just waiting for a green light. The product is at the NIH, and then it will be a few months to get the human data that will allow us to pick a therapeutic dose to start the phase 2 right away.
So you're talking over the next few months, you think you could have a vaccine?
Correct. For phase 2.
Yeah.
You won't have a vaccine, you'll have a vaccine to go into testing.
And how long would that take?
The phase 2 will take a few months before we can go into phase 3.
All right, so you're talking within
A year, like I've been telling you.
Yeah.
Well, a year to a
But
year.
Lenny is talking about 2 months. Right?
And we would be there in June. We will be there in June.
In a couple of months. I mean, I like the sound of a couple of months better, I must be honest.
Remember, maybe 100 million people, I was just checking, get vaccinated for the flu, even if there's 60% protection. We have nobody in this country vaccinated for coronavirus right now. So that, if it goes to the
But the same vaccine could not work. You take a solid flu vaccine, you don't think that would have an impact or much of an impact on corona?
No.
Probably none.
Probably not.
No.
So,
Despite today's sad news, let's be clear. The risk to the American people of the coronavirus remains low, according to all of the experts that we're working with across the government.
But in the United States, there's no travel restrictions. I want to echo again what everyone said. The risk to the American public at this point is low. We are going to increase substantially surveillance.
In China, in the Guangdong province, the sort of history repeats itself,
Right.
Mr. President.
Right.
In China, in the Guangdong province, there was this strange disease that came up that nobody knew what it was. The Chinese didn't really tell anybody about it for a few months, November until it got to Hong Kong. When it got to Hong Kong, next slide, in a hotel in Hong Kong, and this was way back in 2003, someone from China went to the hotel, infected a bunch of people, next slide. And this is what you had. You had flights going. At the time, we didn't make any restrictions the way you did, which I think saved us a really lot of hurt.
I just don't want to panic. I don't want to panic on the economy, which looks sound. I don't want to panic on the virus, which frankly, most Americans are not at risk. And I don't want to panic on policy measures. Let's try to be calm and not overreact. We don't actually know what the magnitude of the virus is going to be, although frankly, so far, it looks relatively contained. And we don't think most people, I mean, the vast majority of Americans are not at risk for this virus.
But when I speak to people who are reviewing the primary data and material that's available from China, where, of course, the outbreak has been by far the worst, they're not particularly sanguine on the U.S. response at this point. They tell me, in fact, if we wanted to actually contain the virus, we would need to do what China has done. We seem unwilling to do that for any number of reasons, including the impact it would have on our economy. And I wonder, does the administration take that into account? Are there simply things you're unwilling to do that perhaps should be done to truly contain this virus, which, by the way, many people say, Larry, it's very hard to say whether it really is in any way contained or whether we are not all at risk?
Well, I'm not sure where you're going on that. Look, folks should not run around grabbing these masks, because that should be for the professional healthcare people. The masks themselves don't really work for individuals.
Hear that, Larry,
America
but a lot of the
stay at work. We should stay at work.
Health professions that I speak to, Scott Gottlieb, the former FDA commissioner, would say very different things, in particular about Seattle and about the government response that needs to actually take place and how we need to be a lot more formidable in our response. And statements like the ones you just made are actually encouraging people to do things that they shouldn't and that will actually cause the spread of the virus as opposed to it stopping.
Larry, it won't surprise you to know that there's been some frustration with comments you've made, largely on our air. One, that the virus was almost airtight in terms of containment. The other was that Americans, you said, should consider buying the dip in stocks. That was 9% ago. Are you going to refrain from making comments like that in the future?
I don't know. Are you asking me a question on that?
I guess, will you say that again? Should Americans buy the dip now?
Yes. Yes. Well, look, I don't do timing. And Carl, regarding the containment issue, I will still argue to you that this is contained. But it can't be airtight, but we are, when you look at the numbers here, and I know there are things in front of us, by itself, more testing is going to uncover more cases. But in a relative sense, relative to our population, relative to ordinary flus, I don't want to downgrade this thing. This can be a human tragedy for individuals who suffer or, Lord knows, who die. I've said that from day one, but I think it is relatively contained. Yes, I do.
It's
I'm
not
going to stay with that
Larry,
view.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, have you been tested? Have you been tested, sir?
Mr. President, have you been tested?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Has he been tested? Have you been tested?
I have not been tested for the coronavirus.
Has the president? Has the president been tested?
You read about him from 1917, and you read about him from lots of other times, but nobody thought that we would be seeing. We were just discussing that. This came out of nowhere, and actually came out of China, which is the way it works. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, what do you say to Americans who are concerned that you're not taking this seriously enough, and that some of your statements don't match what your health experts are saying?
That's CNN, fake news. Go ahead. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much.
Let's go. We're finished. Guys, we're done. We're finished. Guys, we're done. Let's go.
Let's go, guys. Thank you very much. Let's go. Right this way. Thanks, guys. All right, Jim. Thank you, Jim.
Let's go. Very shortly, but around here.
Economic or health announcements?
Within 50 feet.
Economic or health announcements?
Both.
Both.
We will significantly impede the transmission of the virus. The virus will not have a chance against us. No nation is more prepared or more resilient than the United States. The next 8 weeks are critical. We can learn, and we will turn a corner on this virus. Some of the doctors say it will wash through, it will flow through. Interesting terms, and very accurate. I think you're going to find in a number of weeks it's going to be a very accurate term.
I'd like to ask Secretary Azar and Dr. Fauci just how Dr. Fauci, okay?
Right,
all right.
it better. Not 100%, but 90%.
Right.
Go ahead.
And the challenge is we still have the opportunity to influence the course of that curve. So what we would like to see is that when this is all over, our curve was not like that. Our curve was like this.
President Trump is going to be recommending a National Day of Prayer. And, we've gotten away from prayer and faith a lot in this country.
That being said, Mr. President, Americans today and looking forward are living with so much anxiety and so much fear facing uncertainty right now. I'm curious, how are you talking to your own family about this? How are you talking to your youngest son? Do you empathize with this sense of anxiety? People are really scared.
No, I think they are very scared. I think they see that we're doing a very professional job. We've been working with the governors and frankly, the mayors, local government at every level. And I've spoken actually with my son. He says, how bad is this? It's bad. It's bad. But we're going to be hopefully a best case, not a worst case, and that's what we're working for.
Very simple question. Does the buck stop with you? And on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your response to this crisis?
I'd rate it at 10. I think we've done a great job. And we are looking to save the maximum number of lives. This is a pandemic. I felt it was a pandemic long before it was called a pandemic. All you had to do is look at other countries.
China and others have criticized you for using the phrase Chinese virus. How do you feel about that? Are you going to continue using that phrase?
Well, China was putting out information which was false, that our military gave this to them. That was false. And rather than having an argument, I said, I have to call it where it came from. It did come from China. So I think it's a very accurate term. But no, I didn't appreciate the fact that China was saying that our military gave it to them. Our military did not give it to anybody.
Critics say using that phrase creates a stigma.
No, I don't think so. No, I think saying that our military gave it to them creates a stigma. It's the invisible enemy. That's always the toughest enemy, the invisible enemy. But we're going to defeat the invisible enemy. I think we're going to do it even faster than we thought. And it will be a complete victory. It'll be a total victory.
Your Treasury Secretary was on Capitol Hill talking about the potential for what could come, and he said that unemployment could skyrocket to 20%. Are we looking that could rival the Great Depression? Are we looking at potentially historic
No, well, I don't agree
devastation?
with that. Yeah, no, I don't agree. That's a absolute total worst case scenario. But no, we don't look at that at all.
And thank you. And my second question.
We're nowhere near it.
Okay, why do you keep calling this the Chinese virus? There are reports of dozens of incidents of bias against Chinese Americans in this country. Your own aide, Secretary Azar, says he does not use this term. He says ethnicity does not cause the virus. Why do you keep using this? A lot of people say it's racist.
It's not racist at all. No, not at all. It comes from China. That's why. Comes from China. I want to be accurate.
In talking about China, you've been very clear about who you think is to blame or where the origin to blame for this virus is.
Not think. No. I don't think. I know where it came from. I don't know if you'd say China's to blame. Certainly we didn't get an early run on it. It would have been helpful if we knew about it earlier. But it comes from China. And it's not a question about that. Nobody's questioning that.
There are some, at least one White House official, who used the term Kung Flu, referring to the fact that this virus started in China. Is that acceptable? Is it wrong? Are you worried that that having this virus be talked about as a Chinese virus, that might
I
help,
wonder who said
might
that.
focus,
You know who said that?
that I'm not sure the person's name, but would you condemn the fact
Say
that
the term
Kung flu-
again.
a person at the White House used the
Just the
term
term.
Kung flu. My question is, do
Kung
you think
flu.
that's wrong, Kung flu? And do you think using the term Chinese virus, that puts Asian Americans at risk, that people might
No, not
target
at all.
them?
No, not at all. I think they probably would agree with it 100%. It comes from China.
You've been talking about China quite a bit, and you've been talking about the Chinese virus, how if you had heard about this on day one and had more information, possibly you could have stopped it.
Big difference.
Are you thinking about any types of repercussions for China, and are you also rethinking sort of the supply lines for our manufacturing industry?
I don't want to comment on that right now.
Members of Congress are now being tested positive for coronavirus, and you have almost 24 who are self-quarantining. Do you have any guidance for Congress? Should they?
I know all of them, and I don't know if they're sitting like you people are sitting. You're actually sitting too close. We should probably get rid of about another 75, 80% of you. I'll have just 2 or 3 that I like in this room. I think that's a great way of doing it. We just figured a new way of doing it, but you're actually much too close. You know, you two, you should leave immediately.
Do you consider the term Chinese?
OAN.
Yes, sir.
Very good.
I have
Thank you
two
very
questions.
much. You treat me very nicely.
Do
Go
you
ahead.
consider the term Chinese food racist
No.
because it's food that originates in China or it has Chinese?
No, I don't think
origins?
it's
And on that
racist.
note,
I don't think it's racist at all.
On that note, major left-wing news media, even in this room, have teamed up with Chinese Communist Party narratives, and they're claiming you are racist for making these claims about Chinese virus. Is it alarming that major media players just to oppose you are consistently siding with foreign state propaganda, Islamic radicals, and Latin gangs and cartels, and they work right here at the White House with direct access to you and your team?
It amazes me when I read the things that I read. Let's see what happens. We have nothing to lose. You know the expression? What the hell do you have to lose? Okay?
So what do you say to Americans? Sir, nearly 200. I'll just follow up.
John,
Nearly
go
200
ahead.
dead. What do you say the Americans were scared though? I guess nearly 200 dead, 14,000 who are sick, millions, as you witnessed, who are scared right now. What do you say to Americans who are watching you right now who are scared?
I say that you're a terrible reporter. That's what I say. Go ahead.
I
I think it's a very nasty question, and I think it's a very bad signal that you're putting out to the American people. The American people are looking for answers, and they're looking for hope. And you're doing sensationalism, and the same with NBC and Comcast. I don't call it Comcast. I call it Concast. Let me just for whom you work. Let me just tell you something. That's really bad reporting. And you ought to get back to reporting instead of sensationalism. Let's see if it works. It might and it might not. I happen to feel good about it, but who knows? I've been right a lot. Let's see what happens, John.
Can I get back to the science and the logistics
You ought to be
here?
ashamed of yourself.
The units that were ordered.
I said the other day you see yourself as a wartime president right now, leading the country through this pandemic that we're experiencing. Do you really think, going off on Peter, going off on a network is appropriate when the country is going through something like
I
this?
do, because I think Peter is, I've dealt with Peter for a long time. And I think Peter is not a good journalist when it comes to fairness.
But he's asking for your message to the country.
Oh, I
and
think
you
it's a
went
good
off on
message,
Peter.
because I think that the country has to understand that there is indeed, whether we like it or not, and some of the people in this room won't like it, there's a lot of really great news and great journalism, and there's a lot of fake news out there. And I hear it all, and I see it all, and I understand it all because I'm in the midst of it. One thing, Secretary of State Pompeo is extremely busy, so if you have any question for him right now, could you do that? Because you know what I'd like to do? I'd like him to go back to the State Department, or as they call it, the Deep State Department, if you don't mind. I'd like to have him go back and do his job. So does anybody have any question?
You've seen the numbers. You've spoken to average Americans. You're a former governor. What do you say to Americans right now who are watching and who are scared?
I would say do not be afraid, be vigilant. All the experts tell us that the risk of serious illness to the average American for the coronavirus is low.
We will win the war. We want to win the war with as few, if you look at it, just deaths as possible. We want to have as few number of deaths as possible.
I would expect
Romney's in isolation?
Yes.
Gee, that's too bad. Go ahead.
Did have sarcasm there,
No.
sir?
No, none whatsoever.
Uh,
But I'm a little upset with China, I'll be honest with you, because as much as I like President Xi and as much as I respect the country and admire the country, I have great admiration for the country, what they've done. I mean, it's a number of people have said it, and I feel it, actually. I'm a wartime president. This is a war. This is a war, different kind of a war than we've ever had. Go ahead, please, and then Jeff.
Thank you, sir. Are there things you regret in the way you handled the crisis so far? Are there words you regret?
I don't think so. You know, I'm looking forward. I don't look back.
So
I think
lawmakers and economists on both sides of the aisle have said that reopening the country by Easter is not a good idea. What is that plan based on?
just so you understand, are you ready? I think there are certain people that would like it not to open so quickly. I think there are certain people that would like it to do financially poorly because they think that would be very good as far as defeating me at the polls. And I don't know if that's so, but I do think it's so that there are people in your profession that would like that to happen. I think it's very clear. I think it's very clear that there are people in your profession that write fake news. You do. She does. There are people in your profession that write fake news. They would love to see me for whatever reason, because we've done one hell of a job. Nobody's done the job that we've done. And it's lucky that you have this group here right now for this problem, or you wouldn't even have a country left. Okay.
How many deaths are acceptable?
Yeah. How many? None. Okay. How many deaths are acceptable to me? None. Okay, none. If that's your question.
On Monday,
Who are you with?
did you speak with?
Who are you with?
I'm with Bloomberg.
Yeah.
Bloomberg News, Mario Park.
How's Michael doing? Good?
Mr. President, did President Xi ask you to calm that language down or to not use that language?
He never asked me to comment on it. No. Somebody might have spoken to somebody, but nobody spoke to me about it. I think it was time, though, because, you know, I talk about the Chinese virus, and I mean it. That's where it came from. You know, if you look at Ebola, if you look at all Lyme, right, Lyme, Connecticut, you look at all these different horrible diseases, they seem to come with the name, with the location. And this was the Chinese virus. But I don't have to say it if they feel so strongly about it. We'll see. $6.2 trillion. I've never signed anything with a T on it. I don't know if I can handle this one, Mitch. We can't chicken out at this point, can we? I don't think so, huh? All right, thank you all. Good, I wanted that to be a nice signature. Other people, other countries.
Everybody who needs one will be able to get a ventilator.
Look, don't be a cutie pie, okay? You know, everyone who needs one. Nobody's ever done what we've done. Nobody's done anything like we've been able to do. And everything I took over was a mess. It was a broken country in so many ways other than this.
Would the WHO consider Taiwan's membership? Hello?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I couldn't hear your question.
Okay, yeah. Let me repeat the question.
No, that's okay. Let's move to another one then.
Right, because I'm actually curious on talking about Taiwan as well, on Taiwan's case.
We decided to give Dr. Alward another call to follow up.
And I just want to see if you can comment a bit on how Taiwan has done so far in terms of containing the virus.
Well, we've already talked about China, and you know, when you look across all the different areas of China, they've actually all done quite a good job. So with that, I'd like to thank you very much for inviting us to participate, and good luck as you go forward with the battle in Hong Kong.
Are you prepared for this to strike again, say, in the fall? All the efforts that are taking place right now to contain this, to be proactive, and
We're prepared. I hope it doesn't happen. Doctor, would you like to say something about that? I hope it doesn't happen, but we're certainly prepared.
In fact, I would anticipate that would actually happen because of the degree of transmissibility. However, if you come back in the fall, it will be a totally different ballgame of what happened when we first got hit with it in the beginning of this year. There'll be
Go ahead. Let's give it a shot.
What do you say to Americans who are upset with you over the way you downplayed this crisis over the last couple of months? We have it very much under control in this country. The coronavirus is very much under control in the USA. It's going to disappear. It's like a miracle. It will disappear. March 4th, we have a very small number of people in this country infected. March 10th, we're prepared. We're doing a great job with it. It will go away. Just stay calm. It will go away. What do you say to Americans who believe that you got this wrong?
And I do want them to stay calm, and we are doing a great job. If you look at those individual statements, they're all true. Stay calm. It will go away. You know it is going away, and it will go away, and we're going to have a great victory. And it's people like you and CNN that say things like that, it's why people just don't want to listen to CNN anymore. You could ask a normal question. The statements I made are, I want to keep the country calm. I don't want panic in the country. I could cause panic much better than even you. I would make you look like a minor league player. But you know what? I don't want to do that. I want to have our country be calm and strong and fight and win. And it will go away.
Is there any fairness to the criticism that you may have lulled Americans into a false sense of security when you were saying things like it's going to go away?
Well, it is.
And that sort of thing. But
Jim, it's going away.
But when you were saying
it's going to go away, hopefully at the end of the month, and if not, it hopefully will be soon after that.
But hasn't your thinking on this evolved?
Jim, it is going away.
Hasn't your thinking?
What it was looking at the distance that droplets fly by speaking, by coughing, by sneezing. So if you go way back and go, achoo, and go like that, you might get 27 feet. But so when you see somebody do that, get out of the way.
There are some people
but that's not practical.
I know people that can do
That is not practical, John. I'm sorry, but I was disturbed by that report because that's misleading. That means that all of a sudden the 6-foot thing doesn't work. That is a very, very robust, vigorous achoo sneeze. That's what that is. And that's not what we're talking about.
Well, if we do see a second wave, because I've heard Dr. Fauci answer this question, if we do, we're going to be, I think, very well prepared. And the second wave won't be like the first wave. So we have a great trade deal, and we'd like to keep it. They'd like to keep it, and the relationship is good. As to whether or not their numbers are accurate, I'm not an accountant from China. We will keep the American people fully informed on our findings. Hydroxychloroquine, I don't know. It's looking like it's having some good results. I hope that would be a phenomenal thing.
What would people gain from wearing a mask, and why are you opposed to wearing one yourself?
Well, I just don't want to wear one myself. It's a recommendation. They recommend it. I'm feeling good. I just don't want to be doing, I don't know, somehow sitting in the Oval Office behind that beautiful Resolute desk. The great Resolute desk. I think wearing a face mask as I greet presidents, prime ministers, dictators, kings, queens, I don't know, somehow I don't see it for myself. I just maybe I'll change my mind, but this will pass, and hopefully it'll pass very quickly.
The head of the WHO said there was no reason to ever do a travel ban. You know, it wasn't until January 14th that we knew that there was human-to-human transmission.
Dr. Birx, the president was saying this was going to go away. It's April.
It is going to go away.
But this president, you said it was going to go away in April. You said when it warmed up in April.
I said it's going away, and it is going away. Okay.
But,
okay, that was a good answer to your question. No more. That was a long but a very good answer. That was enough for you.
Insurance government, Mr. President.
Now, by the way, the models show hundreds of thousands of people are going to die. You know what I want to do? I want to come way under the models. The professionals did the models. I was never involved in a model, but at least this kind of a model.
Joe Biden actually just attacked you in a tweet. I don't know if you have seen it.
He just what?
Attacked you. He just said.
Well, he didn't write anything. Look, he has people, he has professionals from the Democrats
Mr. President, let
writing.
me just read what he said. He said Donald Trump is not responsible for the coronavirus, but he is responsible for failing to prepare our nation to respond to it. How do you respond to that, sir?
He didn't write that. That was done by a Democrat operative. He doesn't write. He's probably not even watching right now. And if he is, he doesn't understand what he's watching. The question that nobody ever asks, and the question that I most hate the answer to, is what happens if you do have a ventilator? What are your chances? And I just hope that hydroxychloroquine wins, coupled with perhaps the Z-Pack, as we call it, dependent totally on your doctors and the doctors there. Because you know the answer to that question. If you do have the ventilator, you know the answer to that question. And I hate giving the answer. So I don't want to get them there. I don't want to get them there. There's a possibility. And I say it. What do you have to lose? I'll say it again. What do you have to lose? Take it. I really think they should take it. That's hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin. And again, you have to go through your medical people, get the approval. But I've seen things that I sort of like. So what do I know? I'm not a doctor. But I have common sense. I hope they're going to honor the deal. We'll find out.
With China, are you cooperating with
I don't
China?
know. Who are you working for? China? You work for
I'm
China, or are
working
you with a
for Hong
newspaper?
Kong.
Who are you with?
Hong Kong Phoenix TV.
Who owns that? China?
It's
Is it owned by
based in
China?
Hong Kong.
No, is it owned by the state?
No, it's not. It's a private owned company.
Okay, good. Okay. Look, I'll let you know. I'll give you a good answer to that in a few months. I wanted to see what they do. Because it's time for them to help us, okay? It's time right now for China to help us. And hopefully they do. And if they don't, that's okay too. How long has that person been in government? Could I ask you that?
Did serve in the previous administration.
Oh, you didn't tell me that. Oh, I see. You didn't tell me that, John. You didn't tell me that. Did serve in the previous administration. You mean the Obama administration. Thank you for telling me that. See, there's a typical fake news deal.
You asked me when she was appointed. I told you when she was appointed.
You're a
by your
third-rate
administration.
reporter, and what you just said is a disgrace, okay? You asked me, you said, sir, just got appointed. Take a look at what you said. Now, I said, when did this person, how long in government? Well, it was appointed in the Obama administration. Thank you very much, John. Thank you very much. You will never make it. Go ahead, please.
On the ventilators,
Well, that's
maybe
a
this is best
terrible
for Admiral Jawar, but
So I am optimistic, always cautiously optimistic, that if we do what I've been talking about over the past few minutes, we can make that number go down. I don't accept every day that we're going to have 100 to 200,000 deaths. I think we can really bring that down.
And call your friends and family, check in on your mother. She wants to hear from you right now. And speaking of mothers, we need you to do this, if not for yourself, then for your abuela. Do it for your granddaddy. Do it for your big mama. Do it for your pop-pop. We need you to understand, especially in communities of color, we need you to step up and help stop the spread so that we can protect those who are most vulnerable.
Great respect for this group. In fact, I told Tony Fauci, I said, why don't you move to New York, run against AOC, you will win easily. But he decided that he's not going to do that. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Surgeon General. Thank you. I have a quick question for you. You said that African Americans and Latinos should avoid alcohol, drugs, and tobacco. You also said do it for your abuela, do it for Big Mama and Pop Pop. There are some people already there are some people online that are already offended by that language.
I mean, think of that decision. Somebody said it's totally up to the president. I saw this morning. It's totally up, and it is. I don't know that I've had a bigger decision. But I'm going to surround myself with the greatest minds, not only the greatest minds, but the greatest minds in numerous different businesses, including the business of politics and reason. And we're going to make a decision, and hopefully it's going to be the right decision. I will say this. I want to get it open as soon as we can. We have to get our country open, Jeff.
You say, sir, what metrics you will use to make that decision?
The metrics right here. That's my metrics. That's all I can do. I can listen to 35 people. At the end, I've got to make a decision. Today I walk in, I hear I'm going to fire him. I'm not firing him. I think he's a wonderful guy.
Tweet something that said fire Fauci. Why did you?
Fire Fauci.
I retweeted somebody. I don't know. They said fire. Doesn't matter.
Did you notice that when you retweeted it?
Yeah, I noticed everything.
You retweeted it even though it said time to fire
No,
Fauci.
no, that's somebody's opinion. All that is an opinion.
And you elevated
No.
it.
When on January 31st, I instituted the ban, Joe Biden went crazy. He said, you don't need the ban. He didn't go crazy. Like, he didn't even know what the hell the ban was. But so he didn't go crazy. But he did say, he did call me xenophobic. Wait a minute. He called me xenophobic. He called me a racist because he has since apologized and he said I did the right thing. So when you say, why didn't you this? Every Democrat thought I made a mistake when I did it. I saved tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of lives by putting
Time
it.
that you bought, the argument is that you bought yourself some time and you didn't use it to prepare hospitals, you didn't use it to ramp up testing. Right now, nearly 20 million
You're so
people
disgraceful.
are unemployed.
It's so
Tens of
disgraceful the way you said it.
thousands
Let me
of
just,
Americans are
listen,
dead.
I
How
just
is this
went
so
over
real?
it.
Or this rant supposed to make people feel
I just went
confident
over
in
it.
an unprecedented crisis?
Nobody thought we should do it. And when I did it,
But what did you do with the time that you bought?
you know
The
what we
month
did?
of February. That,
You know
that
what we
video
did?
was a gap.
What
The
do you
entire
do?
month of February.
What do you do when you have no case in the whole United States? When you excuse me, you reported it. 0 cases, 0 deaths on January 17th.
February, the entire
January,
month of
I said in
February. Your video
January.
has a complete gap.
On
Month of
January
February.
30th.
What did your administration do in February for the time that your travel ban bought
A
you?
lot.
What?
A lot. And in fact, we'll give you a list. What we did, in fact, part of it was up there. We did a lot. Look. You know you're a fake. You know that. Your whole network, the way you cover it, is fake. And most of you, and not all of you, but the people are wise to you. That's why you have a lower approval rating than you've ever had before, times probably 3. Today I'm instructing my administration to halt funding of the World Health Organization while a review is conducted to assess the World Health Organization's role in severely mismanaging and covering up the spread of the coronavirus. Everybody knows what's going on there. Instead, the WHO willingly took China's assurances to face value, and they took it just at face value, and defended the actions of the Chinese government, even praising China for its so-called transparency. I don't think so.
Thank you, Mr. President. Why do we have 20% of the world's deaths from the coronavirus when we're only 4% of the world's population?
Well, you don't know what you have. Do you think you're getting honest numbers from some of these countries? Do you really believe those numbers in this vast country called China? Now that we have passed the peak in new cases, we're starting our life again. If the virus returns in the fall, as some scientists think it may, possibly, these guidelines will ensure that our country is up and running so that we can likewise put it out quickly. We all probably have friends. I have a number of people that were just great people who were just decimated by what happened. Some are dead right now. They're dead. They went into a hospital. One called me. He said, I tested positive. 4 days later, he was dead. The following day, after he said that, he was unconscious. So this is a tough deal. We have a lot of discussions going on with China. Let me just put it this way. I'm not happy, okay? I'm not happy. And I spoke to them, and this could have been shut down a long time ago. They knew it. The United States has produced dramatically better health outcomes than any other country, with a possible exception of Germany, and I think we're as good or better. When the fake news gets out there and they start talking about the United States as number one, but we're not number one, China's number one, just so you understand. China's number one by a lot. It's not even close. They're way ahead of us in terms of death. It's not even close. You know it, I know it, they know it, but you don't want to report it. Why? You'll have to explain that. Someday I'll explain it. Getting better and better. I took the first test. The first test was not pleasant. This was not a pleasant thing. I said, you got to be kidding, to the doctor. You got to be kidding. Up your nose, and then we hang a right, and it goes down here, and then we'll wiggle it around here under your eye, and then we'll pull it out, and we'll say, I said, no, that's no way that can happen. Is that the way it goes? You sure? This was a very unpleasant test. I always say one person is too much, especially in this case when it could have been stopped in China. Could have been stopped in China before it started. And it wasn't. And the whole world is suffering because of it. Does anybody, you put that slide back if you would. Does anybody believe this number? Does anybody believe this number? You saw more
And this is why
bags on television than that.
this is why the reporting is so important.
When you repeatedly praised Xi in January and February,
this guy doesn't
you
stop.
said he will solve the problem. You said he was doing a great job. Were you duped by President Xi?
No. I made a deal that's phenomenal for the United States. No, you know who was duped? You and the Obama administration were duped for years because China was ripping off this country like in the history of any country. Nobody's been ripped off like the United States by China and many other countries. And we stop it. And I'm not happy. You people are so pathetic at CNN. Let me just tell you.
February 23rd.
Sure. I was very happy with the deal. Very happy with everything. Then we find out about the plague, right? The plague. And since we found out about that, I'm not happy. But I closed it up long before Pelosi. Listen, long before Pelosi, you know, she was having parties in San Francisco. Let's all go to Chinatown. And that was a long time after I closed up the country. Go ahead, please.
The first of the month is next week.
That's why your ratings are so bad, because you're pathetic. Go ahead, let's go. Your ratings are terrible. You got to get back to real news. Go ahead.
The first of the month.
I've never seen so many American flags. I mean, I'm seeing the same thing that you're seeing. I don't see it any differently.
There too.
They're who?
Nazi
Well,
flags.
that I totally would say no way. But I didn't see that. I see all, of course, I'm sure the news plays that up. I've seen American flags all over the place. I have never seen so many American flags at a rally as I have in these rallies. These people love our country. They want to get back to work.
Follow up on that. So you agree this could come back actually worse in the fall?
I don't know if it will be worse. I think this has been pretty bad.
And if it comes back, though, it won't be coming back in the form that it was. It will be coming back in smaller doses that we can contain. But what the doctor was saying, and I spoke to him at great length, he was saying if it should come back together, now you have a flu and you have the embers of corona. But in my opinion, from everything I've seen, it can never be like anything that we've witnessed right now. Would you say that's the correct statement? It's nothing like what we're talking about. What we've just gone through, we will not go through. You could have some embers of corona and you could have a big flu system. And if they combine, if they come together, it's not great, but we will not go through what we went through for the last 2 months. Yeah,
Mr. President,
is that a correct statement?
I understand that the United States will certainly be more prepared in the fall, but how can you say that you know it won't come back in the same level that it has today?
What it is estimated, it might not come back at all, Jeff. It may not come back at all. He's talking about a worst case scenario where you have a big flu and you have some corona. And if it does come back, it's not going to come back. And I've spoken to 10 different people. It's not going to be like it was. Also, we have much better containment now. Before, nobody knew about it. Nobody knew anything about it. We understand it. Now, if we have pockets, a little pocket here, then we're going to have it put out. It goes out, and it's going to go out fast. We're going to be watching for it. But it's all possible. It's also possible it doesn't come back at all. So let's say we had 350 million people in the United States, right? Let's say. And if we gave every one of those people a test 10 times, so we give 350 people a test 10 times, the fake news media would say, where's the 11th time? He didn't do his job. Trump didn't do his job. Because you have a lot of bad reporting out there. It's very sad. And it's so bad.
That's not true.
Well, you're one of the leaders of the bad reporting.
No, but that's not true.
Okay, let's get on to another subject. So, supposing we hit the body with a tremendous, whether it's ultraviolet or just very powerful light, and I think you said that hasn't been checked, but you're going to test it. And then I said, supposing you brought the light inside the body, which you can do either through the skin or in some other way. And I think you said you're going to test that too. Sounds interesting. Right, and then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute. 1 minute, and is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning? Because you see it gets on the lungs and it does a tremendous number in the lungs, so it'd be interesting to check that. So that you're going to have to use medical doctors with, but it sounds interesting to me. I once mentioned that maybe it does go away with heat and light, and people didn't like that statement very much. The fake news didn't like it at all, and I just threw it out as a suggestion, but it seems like that's the case, because when it's on a surface that would last for a long time, when that surface is outside, it goes away very quickly. It dies very quickly with the sun. But are you saying on surfaces, the heat, the hot summer, and whatever other conditions, humidity and lack of humidity, that would have an impact? So that on surfaces where it can be picked up, it will die fairly quickly in the summer, whereas in the winter it wouldn't die so quickly.
Yes, Mr. President. When it's exposed to UV rays, take a playground equipment, for example. The UV rays hitting a piece of playground equipment will kill the virus when it hits on the playground equipment. But underneath, where the sun does not get, if someone touched that and had it on their hands, it could still be there, right? It has to be in direct light of the UV rays.
With the sun, if it's on somebody's hands, right, and they haven't touched their face and all of the things.
And
that
it's
we've
exposed
all
to the sun.
I know, but if they're outside, right, and their hands are exposed to the sun, will that kill it as though it were on a piece of metal or something else?
I don't want to say it will at the same rate, because it's a non-porous surface, but what we do know is that we looked at the worst case scenario, and the virus lives longer on non-porous surfaces. So porous surfaces, it doesn't live quite as long. So in theory, what you said is correct.
This is sort of semi-non-porous, right? Yes, right?
Yes, Mr. President.
Are getting better, but what do your economists tell you about the time it's going to take to you in the U.S. to create
Well, I know
those
a
jobs
lot
back?
about economists. Yeah.
September?
Sure.
October?
Well, let me go. We know the rest of the question, right? So I know a lot about economists, and the answer is they have no idea. I think I have as good an idea as anybody, and I think our economy will start to pick up very substantially. I would like you to speak to the medical doctors to see if there's any way that you can apply light and heat to cure. You know, if you could, and maybe you can, maybe you can't. Again, I say maybe you can, maybe you can't. I'm not a doctor, but I'm like a person that has a good, you know what.
But sir, you're the president.
Deborah, have you ever heard of that? The heat and the light relative to certain viruses, yes, but relative to this virus?
Not as a treatment. I mean, certainly fever
Yeah.
is a good thing when you have a fever. It helps your body respond. But not as, I've not seen heat or light.
I think it's a great thing to look at. I mean, you know, okay?
Respectfully, sir, you're the president, and people tuning into these briefings, they want to get information and guidance and want to know what to do. They're not looking for rumors.
Phil, I'm the president, and you're fake news. And you know what I'll say to you? I'll say very nicely, I know you well. I know you well, because I know the guy. I see what he writes. He's a total faker. So are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? It's just a suggestion from a brilliant lab by a very, very smart, perhaps brilliant man. He's talking about sun, he's talking about heat, and you see the numbers. So that's it. That's all I have. I'm just here to present talent. I'm here to present ideas, because we want ideas to get rid of this thing. And if heat is good, and if sunlight is good, that's a great thing as far as I'm concerned. Go ahead. I think it was a fake report done by CNN.
Ask you a question.
What do you have? Go ahead. No, that's enough. Go ahead.
Can I ask? But that wasn't my question.
The problem is you don't write the truth. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, I want to go to the next
Can I
person.
ask you a question about?
No, not CNN, please. Go ahead.
The White House has
You
not
don't.
responded to these
I told you.
allegations from Ms. Fry.
CNN is fake news. Don't talk to me. Go ahead, please.
But he says he was retaliated against, and that's why he was removed from his job. Do you have a response to that?
Okay, next question. Talking about, please, in the back.
Maryland and other states, Governor Larry Hogan specifically said they've seen a spike in people using disinfectant after your comments last week. I know you said they were sarcastic.
I can't
but do you
imagine why. I can't imagine why. Yeah.
take any responsibility?
No,
if
I
someone
don't.
were
No,
to
I
die?
can't imagine. I can't imagine that. This afternoon, I'll sign a proclamation declaring the month of May to be Older Americans Month. I don't know if I'm in that category. I have a feeling I am, but I feel good.
And my question is, have you seen anything at this point that gives you a high degree of confidence that the Wuhan Institute of Virology was the origin of this virus?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have. And I think that the World Health Organization should be ashamed of themselves, because they're like the public relations agency for China.
Are you suggesting that maybe you have some evidence that this was not a naturally occurring virus?
We're going to see what it is. You're talking about the virus and
Correct.
where it came from?
Yeah.
No, we're going to see where it is. We're going to see where it comes from. And, look, you know every theory. You had the theory from the lab, you had the theory from many different, the bats, and the type of bat, and the bat is 40 miles away, so it couldn't have been here, and it couldn't have been there. And there's a lot of theories. But, yeah, we have people looking at it very, very strongly. Scientific people, intelligence people, and others.
And what gives
and
you
we're going
a-
to put it all together, and I think we're going to have a very good answer eventually.
And what gives you
And
a
China
high-
might even tell us. China may tell us.
And what gives you a high degree of confidence that this originated from the Wuhan Institute of Virology?
I can't tell you that. I'm not allowed to tell you that.
Thanks so much, Haley. Welcome. Since it's been more than 100 days since the press secretary stood up there, I wanted to get a better sense of what your plan is. Are you planning to do these on a daily basis at this point? And also, will you pledge never to lie to us from that podium?
I will never lie to you. You have my word on that.
Said many times that the U.S. is doing far better than any other country when it comes to testing.
Yes.
Why does that matter? Why is this a global competition to you if every day Americans are still losing their lives and we're still seeing more cases every day?
Well, they're losing their lives everywhere in the world. And maybe that's a question you should ask China. Don't ask me, ask China that question, okay? When you ask them that question, you may get a very unusual answer. Yes, behind you, please.
Sir, why are you saying that to me specifically?
I'm
That I
telling
should
you,
ask
I'm not
China?
saying it specifically to anybody. I'm saying it to anybody that would ask a nasty question
That's
like that.
not a nasty
Please go
question.
ahead.
Why does it matter?
Okay, anybody else? Please, go ahead in the back, please.
I have two questions.
No, it's okay.
But
We'll
you
go over
pointed
here.
to me. I have two questions, Mr.
Next,
President.
next, please.
But you called on me.
I did, and you didn't respond, and now I'm calling on
Sorry, I just
the
wanted
young
to,
lady in the back, please.
I just wanted to let my colleague finish.
Okay.
But can I ask you a
Ladies and
question,
gentlemen,
please?
thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. They want to get back, yeah.
Sir, do you have a plan to prevent the spread? If you reopen
We
the
do,
schools-
we do. We have a great plan to prevent the spread, but that doesn't mean we're going to close our country for 5 years, okay? Not going to happen.
In the schools,
Go
you have
ahead.
a plan? The current death toll is about 86,000.
At current, it's about 86,000, yes.
Do you think that's accurate, or do you think it's higher than that?
I don't, or lower than that. I don't know. I don't know. Those are the numbers that are being reported. I assume they're correct. Because they have failed to make the requested and greatly needed reforms, we will be today terminating our relationship with the World Health Organization and redirecting those funds to other worldwide and deserving urgent global public health needs. The world needs answers from China on the virus. We must have transparency. We made a great trade deal. Great. They're going to buy $250 billion worth of product. And by the way, they are online. They're doing okay. But the ink wasn't dry on that deal when the plague floated in. What's going on? A plague is floating in from China. What's going on? So the ink wasn't dry. So I guess I view the trade deal a little bit differently than I did 3 months ago. It's a great deal. I will say they are buying a lot from us, and in that way I respect. And getting along with China would be a good thing. I don't know if that's going to happen. I'll let you know. Our country has never lost 105,000 people, whether it's World Trade Center, which was 2,900, or Pearl Harbor, which was less than that. You have diabetes, or you have a bad heart. It's like a magnet. They say if you're heavy, so I say, thank goodness I'm in perfect shape. Thank goodness. What a terrible thing. But you don't hear them talking about COVID. COVID. To be specific, COVID-19. That name gets further and further away from China as opposed to calling it the Chinese virus. And despite the fact that I have done a phenomenal job with it, I shut down the United States to very heavily infected, but all people from China in late January, which is months earlier than other people would have done it, if they would have done it at all. I saved hundreds of thousands of lives. We don't ever get even a mention. They called me, they said, the job you're doing, here's the bad part. When you do testing to that extent, you're going to find more people, you're going to find more cases. So I said to my people, slow the testing down, please. They test and they test. We got tests that people don't know what's going on. We got tests. We got another one over here. The young man's 10 years old. He's got the sniffles. He'll recover in about 15 minutes. That's a case. Add him to it. That's a case. That's a case. What if you could have seen outside, or if you could have heard the reports, oh, it's COVID, it's this, by the way, it's a disease, without question, has more names than any disease in history. I can name Kung Flu, I can name 19 different versions of names.
Thank you, sir. I want to know, when's the last time you spoke with President Xi of China, and do you plan to speak with him in the near future?
No, I haven't spoken to him. Well, no, I don't. I have no plan to speak to him.
I just wanted to know, Ruth Bader Ginsburg was hospitalized today with an infection. Wanted to know if you had any reaction to that news.
No, I wish her the best. I hope she's better. I didn't hear that, actually. She was just hospitalized? No, that's too bad. No, I wish her the best. Today I want to provide an update on our response to the China virus and what my administration is doing to get the outbreak in the Sun Belt under control.
Thank you, Mr. President. You've been saying for months that the virus would simply disappear, and now you're saying that it's likely to get worse before it gets better. If it does keep getting worse, if Americans keep dying, are you responsible for that?
Well, the virus will disappear. It will disappear. This is a core of our strategy to protect our people from the horrible China virus. Should have never happened, should have never been here. They should have stopped it. So it sort of is curious. A man works for us, with us very closely, Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx, also highly thought of. And yet they're highly thought of, but nobody likes me. It can only be my personality, that's all. We're going to take care of the people.
The woman that you said was a great doctor in that video that you retweeted last night said that masks don't work and there is a cure for COVID-19, both of which health experts say is not true. She's also made videos saying that doctors make medicine using DNA from aliens and that they're trying to create a vaccine to make you immune from becoming religious.
Well, maybe it's the same, maybe it's not, but I can tell you this. She was on air along with many other doctors. They were big fans of hydroxychloroquine, and I thought she was very impressive in the sense that from where she came, I don't know which country she comes from, but she said that she's had tremendous success with hundreds of different patients, and I thought her voice was an important voice, but I know nothing about her.
Masks don't work.
Yeah, go ahead, Paul.
Last week you said
Go ahead.
masks. Last week, well, real quick. Last week you said
Thank you very
masks
much,
with the
everybody. Our sadness at the passing of a wonderful man and a dear friend of mine, Herman Cain. He was a very special person. I got to know him very well. And unfortunately, he passed away from a thing called the China virus.
But when you're talking about the scope of this virus, when you look at the percentage of the population that's died, there's only 3 countries that have more deaths than the U.S. So how do you explain that why the percentage of the population who's died is so much higher in the U.S.?
Well, I think actually the numbers are lower than others. I'll get back to you on that, but we proportionately are lower than almost all countries. We're at the bottom of the list. And we're, relative to cases also, we're at the bottom of the list, which is a good thing being at the bottom of the list. But I can get back to you. We have about 4 or 5 different lists on that. And we're generally speaking at the very bottom of the list. So I'll get back to you. Then you're reading a different newspaper than me. Go ahead, please.
The delivery and the postmark.
Go ahead, please. Go.
Sir, you said in an interview this morning on the coronavirus, this thing's going away. It will go away like things go away, despite ongoing cases and deaths.
Going away.
Isn't that should you claim out of reality?
It's going away. No, it'll go away like things go away. Absolutely. It's no question in my mind. It will go away. Please go ahead. Hopefully sooner rather than later. And And you see the devastating results of lockdowns, too. You know, you have depression and suicide and drugs and alcohol and bad marriages. Marriages that were very good turn out to be very bad. It's an amazing thing, and it's, who would think it? But people get along for 20 years. I guess they didn't know each other very well, and now they're not getting along. Look, the other day they said the three countries, they said China and Russia and Iran, and some reporter got up and said, Russia is meddling. I said, well, didn't it mention China and Iran? Why didn't you mention them too? So I don't know. You know what I'm telling you? I'll tell you who's meddling in our elections. The Democrats are meddling by wanting and insisting on sending mail-in ballots. The Democrats didn't want to do a protection from evictions, people getting evicted because of the coronavirus or the China virus, whatever you want to call it. We have 20, now we're up to 21 different names. All we know is it came out of China and it shouldn't have. They should have stopped it. Online learning has never been an effective replacement for in-person learning and support. So when you sit at home in a basement looking at a computer, your brain starts to wither away. We have a lot of good experience at that just by taking a look at what's happening in politics. Today we saw Joe Biden continue to politicize a pandemic and to show his appalling lack of respect for the American people. That's what it is. At every turn, Biden has been wrong about the virus, ignoring the scientific evidence and putting left-wing politics before facts and evidence. Sleepy Joe opposed both the China and the Europe travel bans. You know that. He opposed the China travel ban that I instituted very early and the Europe travel ban that I instituted quite early. If he had followed, if we went after and listened to his advice, hundreds of thousands more people would have died. Sleepy Joe rejects the scientific approach in favor of locking all Americans in their basements for months on end. Please.
Mr. President, after 3.5 years, do you regret at all the lying you've done to the American people? On
All the what?
everything? All the lying, all the dishonesties.
That who has done?
You have done. Tens of
Yeah,
thousands.
go ahead, please. Please. Go ahead. Go ahead. Okay.
Just real quick, at the crux of the theory is this belief that you are secretly saving the world from this satanic cult of pedophiles and cannibals. Does that sound like something you are behind?
Well, I haven't heard that, but is that supposed to be a bad thing or a good thing? I mean, you know, if I can help save the world from problems, I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to put myself out there, and we are actually. We're saving the world from a radical left philosophy that will destroy this country, and when this country is gone, the rest of the world would follow. The bottom line is that the job we've done on COVID-19 or the China virus, China plague, call it whatever you want, there are a lot of different names, but it's been incredible. The swine flu was a disaster. You remember when, not nearly as deadly, not the same world, but when Joe Biden was vice president, his failed approach to the swine flu was disastrous. He called it N1H1. It's actually H1N1. You know, you remember the H comes before the N, so it's sort of easy to remember, right? But Joe always calls it the opposite way. But call it the swine flu. It was disastrous. All right, please, Joe.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Why did you lie to the American people, and why should we trust what you have to say
Such
now?
a terrible question, and the phraseology. I didn't lie. What I said is we have to be calm. We can't be panicked. I knew that the tapes were, these were a series of phone calls that we had, mostly phone calls. And Bob Woodward is somebody that I respect just from hearing the name for many, many years. So that as soon as the FDA approves the vaccine, and as you know, we're very close to that, we'll be able to distribute at least 100 million vaccine doses by the end of 2020, and a large number much sooner than that. I'm calling on Biden to stop promoting his anti-vaccine theories because all they're doing is hurting the importance of what we're doing.
If we can get the charts back up, I want to show you some more examples of the D-shaped recovery. Actually, I can jump in here. This is from the Census Bureau report, change in the number of people living in poverty. During President Trump's first 3 years pre-pandemic, 6.6 million fewer people, 6.6 million fewer people were living in poverty.
What's the number post-pandemic?
And the
What's the number post-pandemic?
well, we'll have to wait and see on that. We're just
More
beginning.
accurate. Would that be more accurate?
Let me go to the under the Obama years. 787,000 people moved into poverty. So that's a problem. And we have the second chart.
Isn't that an
If
old
we can
chart,
get
though?
up. No, this is a brand new. This stuff just came out late
But
last
what do
week.
you want to have what's happening right now?
If I may, okay.
I just like accurate information.
This is the accurate information.
Doesn't it say it's not 2019, Larry?
This is from the Census
not 2020,
Bureau,
it's like
and
right
it just
now.
came back. Well,
Yeah.
let me just go back into this.
I would like to ask Admiral Giroir to come up and demonstrate how these tests are performed. He'll do this very nicely, I think. Good luck. Hope you don't test positive.
Let him finish. Do you believe for a moment what he's telling you in light of all the lies he's told you about the whole issue relating to COVID? He still hasn't even acknowledged that he knew this was happening, knew how dangerous it was going to be back in February, and he didn't even tell you. He's on record as saying it. He panicked or he just looked at the stock market, one of the two, because guess what? A lot of people died. And a lot more are going to die unless he gets a lot smarter, a lot quicker.
So-
Mr. President?
Did you use the word smart? So you said you went to Delaware State, but you forgot the name of your college. You didn't go to Delaware State. You graduated either the lowest or almost the lowest in your class. Don't ever use the word smart with me. Don't ever use that word.
Oh, give me a break.
Because you know what? There's nothing smart about you, Joe. 47 years you've done nothing.
Let's have this.
So it's been a very interesting journey. I learned a lot about COVID. I learned it by really going to school. This is the real school. This isn't the let's read the book school. And I get it, and I understand it, and it's a very interesting thing, and I'm going to be letting you know about it. In the meantime, we love the USA, and we love what's happening. Thank you.
The fact that you continue to undermine public confidence in a vaccine, if the vaccine emerges during the Trump administration, I think is unconscionable. And Senator, I just ask you, stop playing politics with people's lives.
It will go away, and as I say, we're rounding the turn, we're rounding the corner. It's going away.
And again, I go back to this. He had nothing. He did virtually nothing. And then he gets out of the hospital and he talks about, don't worry, it's all going to be over soon. Come on. There's not another serious scientist in the world who thinks it's going to be over soon.
President Trump, your reaction?
I say over soon. I say we're learning to live with it. We have no choice. We can't lock ourselves up in a basement like Joe does. He has the ability to lock himself up. I don't know. He's obviously made a lot of money someplace, but he has this thing about living in a basement.
The fact is that when we knew it was coming, when it hit, what happened? What did the president say? He said, don't worry, it's going to go away. Be gone by Easter. Don't worry. The warm weather. Don't worry. Maybe inject bleach. He said he was kidding when he said that, but a lot of people thought it was serious. A whole range of things the president has said. Even today, he thinks we are in control. We're about to lose 200,000 more people.
Well, you have to understand, the first time I ever heard of Black Lives Matter, they were chanting pigs in a blanket, talking about police. Pigs, talking about our police. Pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon. I said, that's a horrible thing. And they were marching down the street. And that was my first glimpse of Black Lives Matter. I thought it was a terrible thing. As far as my relationships with all people, I think I have great relationships with all people. I am the least racist person in this room because I am the least racist person. I can't even see the audience because it's so dark, but I don't care who's in the audience. I'm the least racist person in this room. End the pandemic, quickly restore normal life. I just want normal life. You do too. All we want is normal life. I'm looking up to the sky. A friend of mine said, you know, you're the most famous man in the world. I said, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, he said, no, who's more famous than you? You are the most famous man in the world. What are you talking about? Who's more famous? I said, Jesus Christ. And I don't want to take any chances. So I looked up and I said, and it's not even close. I say it drives them crazy. It's rounding the turn. Because all they want to do, you turn on the news, COVID, 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 COVID. Would like to talk about COVID, and then next year, here's what happens, November 4th. You won't hear too much about it. You won't hear too much about it. Don't tell anybody, but let me wait till a little bit after the election. I appreciate the advice. I appreciate that. No, he's been wrong on a lot. He's a nice man, though. He's been wrong on a lot. Do not, under any circumstances, wear a mask, he said. Do not close up to China, he said. Then he said later on that President Trump saved tens of thousands of lives because I closed early.
We're going to beat this virus. We're going to get it under control. But the truth is, this is not hyperbole, the truth is, to beat the virus, we first got to beat Donald Trump. He's the virus.
Well, Kayleigh, a lot of people are making this story a big deal that the president kind of kicked to the curb, and that is that he's going to declare a premature victory. He's going to see things trending in the right way. He's going to call a press conference, and he's going to say, I won. Has anything like that been drawn up? Has anything like that been talked about?
No, what that is the Joe Biden crowd, knowing that they are on the brink of defeat, making things up and peddling it in the press.
We won Texas by 700,000 votes, and they don't even include it in the tabulations. It's also clear that we have won Georgia. We're up by 2.5% or 117,000 votes with only 7% left. They're never going to catch us. They can't catch us.
Pennsylvania. I've never heard of a count where you're ahead by 400,000 with 80+% counted, and they haven't called it for you yet. They called California the moment the polls closed. How many votes do you have to be ahead to win, for a Republican to win here? How many votes do we have to be ahead? 400,000 is not enough? With 80+% counted, I think there's only 14% of the vote to go. Do you think we're stupid? You think we're fools? You know something? The Democrats do think you're stupid, and they do think you're fools, and that's why you get called deplorable and chumps. It's over. We're going to stick with this. We're going to win this election. We've actually won it. Just a matter of counting the votes fairly.
Hi.
Is the State Department currently preparing to engage with the Biden transition team? And if not, at what point does a delay hamper a smooth transition or pose a risk to national security?
There will be a smooth transition to a second Trump administration. All right, we're ready. The world is watching what's taking place here. We're going to count all the votes. When the process is complete, there'll be electors selected. There's a process. The Constitution lays it out pretty clearly. The world should have every confidence.
Through Operation Warp Speed, we're doing it in less than 1 year. If you had a different administration with different people, what we've done would have taken, in my opinion, 3, 4, 5 years, and it would have been in the FDA forever. This is 5 times faster than the fastest prior vaccine development in history. 5 times faster. Say it again, 5 times faster. Nobody can believe it, actually.
We will have 40 million doses by the end of the year, which is a tremendous achievement, not just to have gotten a vaccine in this time, but to have produced 40 million in advance. It's having a businessman as president. It's the Trump vaccine.
Dan then attended Iowa State, where he secured 2 NCAA wrestling championships, national wrestling championships, 3 Big 8 titles, and became a 3-time All-American. He won 117 consecutive matches and lost only 1. Well, you know, in politics, I won 2, so I'm 2-0, and that's pretty good too. But we'll see how that turns out. He's the greatest wrestler probably ever. We've never had anybody like him. He's made our country very proud, and he is a true GOAT. You know what GOAT is? GOAT, greatest of all time, right? He's the greatest of all time.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
I think that the vaccine was our goal. That was number one, because that was the way it ends. Plus, you do have an immunity. You develop immunity over a period of time. And I hear we're close to 15%. I'm hearing that, and that is terrific. That's a very powerful vaccine in itself. I'm also asking Congress to immediately get rid of the wasteful and unnecessary items from this legislation and to send me a suitable bill, or else the next administration will have to deliver a COVID relief package, and maybe that administration will be me, and we will get it done. Thank you very much. To every family across our nation, the First Lady and I want to wish you all a very, very Merry Christmas. Tonight we ask that God will continue to bless this nation, and we pray that He will grant every American family a Christmas season full of joy, hope, and peace. On behalf of Melania and the entire Trump family, Merry Christmas to all, and best wishes for a very, very great and happy New Year. Thank you.